Okay, well, I'm running out of good ideas for PowerPoint, so we're at milk and eggs right now. It's milk and eggs time of semester. I did put some formulas in the corner. So just to give you an update, you guys were all smiling because I told you next week is spring break, and you smiled even more when I told you that you won't get to see me next week. Fine, I know how it is. I guess the only text I get is if you actually need to answer a question answered. Fine, that's how it is. The week after, so the week after you come back, it's a regular week. We have a quiz that Monday. What I did is, Majd actually gave me an idea. Right on the WebAssign itself, I have what's going to be on the quiz, so that when you open up the WebAssign, the description should tell you what's going to be on the quiz. But the week after that, the Monday you come back from spring break, there is a quiz. Some of you are going to get it done early so you can enjoy spring break without the dagger over your head. Some of you are going to do it right after spring break is over. But however you get there, get there. The week after that is exam 2 on that Monday. So it just gives you a running total of where we are. So today's methods, and everybody's cool with me just blowing through this and making sure, I put a lot of detail in the slides, so that way we can actually enjoy Wednesday instead of doing methods both days. Right. I just wanted to give you a heads up so that you can kind of plan things forward. It's on the syllabus, but sometimes during the semester we kind of lose our spot. Okay, so I hadn't done this type of problem. I had forgotten to do it. It's kind of important in the fact that you need to have seen it before, but you don't need to know the formulas. Some professors are going to make you memorize the formulas when you see them in Calc class. It's almost recognition. You need to they're all over the internet. When you have to, if you're taking Calc 1, just memorize it then. So I put the formulas in the corner down here. The second one is a sine of a plus b. That's the one I need. It's very small down in the corner, so I wrote it up here again. Sine of a plus b is sine of a cosine b plus cosine a sine b. And I don't remember them actually, and I teach Calc 1 and pre-Calc often. When I need it, I just go learn it again. So it's not one of those things that sticks with me. So the a and the b in this case, see I double underline the sign x and x plus y. The x is a and the y is b. So I'm going to replace the a and the b with x and the y. So that's the formula I'm going to use. Now they've given me some information up at the top. They tell me that x and y are in the second quadrant, and that sine x is 1/4 and cosine y is minus 4/5. That's given. And the second quadrant. I'm going to need all those pieces of information. So what you do is you take the sine x equals 1/4 and the cosine y equals minus 4/5, and you plug it into that formula, that patriotic formula above. Red, white, and blue. Substitute these in. So if I substitute those in, see those sine x and cosine y sitting there, circled it, like that?
Is that, are you adding those or are you multiplying those?
They're multiplied. The sine x and the cosine y? Is that what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah, they're multiplied. So those two circled things, I'm just going to pop in the numbers I have. So the 1/4 goes in for the sine x, and the minus 4/5 goes in for the cosine y. So this really weirded out the students last semester, which is why I'm going over this really slow and using animation to show you this, because they would get confused with the x and the sine x. You have the entire sine x is given to you, and you have the entire cosine y's. So what they would do sometimes is they would put 1/4 in for the x. That's not what you do. You take 1/4 and put it for the whole sine x. It disappears. So this is what I have so far. Sine of x plus y, which is the double underlined black, that is what I'm supposed to find. And I have that's minus 1/5 plus cosine x and sine y. I've got to fill in numbers for this cosine x and sine y. So my next task is to figure out what cosine x and sine y are. So I'm given that sine x is 1/4. To find cosine x, I'm going to have to use the famous formula, the most famous formula. Cosine x, cosine squared plus sine squared is 1. So I'm using that one. What I'm going to do is, see the sine x is 1/4? I'm going to pop that down here. Replace the sine x with 1/4. And now I have only one real variable left, and that's this cosine x squared. That's what I'm solving for. So now if I do the math, now it's just arithmetic. So what I have here, I have cosine squared plus 1/16 equals 1. These two things are fractions. I'll subtract the 1/16 from both sides, and I'll combine the fractions, which I can do. And I'll get cosine squared is equal to 15/16 by getting a common denominator. That's cosine squared. I want cosine. I need cosine x. Remember in the black above it says need to find cosine x and sine y. I'm still after that cosine x. So what I do is I square root both sides. So if I square root both sides, I get a plus and minus. And how did I get this 4 over here? Well, square root of 16 is 4, so that disappears. Now, they gave me this information about the second quadrant. Think of your unit circle. What is the sign of cosines in the second quadrant? They're negative, right? All the cosines are the x values, and they're all negative. So the cosine x in this quadrant is negative. So that tells me that I only select one of the answers, and it's going to be the negative one. You're staring at it really weird. You want me to back up? Good?
No.
Let me know when. Okay, so I have cosine x is minus square root of 15 over 4. So I know one of those things. So this was the formula that we had so far. Now I can put a number in for this. This is really painful on the blackboard, by the way. This takes a lot of time to write out. But this is what I put in for the cosine x. I have that answer now. All that remains now, so in for the cosine x is minus square root of 15 over 4. Sine y is still missing. I need to figure out sine y. And I use the same process that I just used for cosine x. Nothing's different. So if you're taking notes, I'm just copying and pasting the formula and replacing it so you can see the substitution when you watch the video. You don't need to do that when you're taking the notes. You can just rewrite the equation and put the minus square root of 15 over 4 on it. So that's what I need. I need that sine y. So they gave me another piece of information. They gave me cosine y is equal to minus 4/5. Now I'm going to use this formula, and this confused the last class too. I had the first formula had x's in it, and the second formula had y's in it. They would get confused with the x's and the y's and the most famous identity and the quadrants. Everything would be a mushy, mushy mess. So really stay to the target. You need to find sine y. That's your mini problem right now. How do you find, it doesn't matter what the angle is called. The famous identity works all the time. Sine squared of Carolyn plus cosine squared of Carolyn is equal to 1. It's sine squared of anything plus cosine squared of that same thing is equal to 1. Doesn't matter what's plugged in there. So this formula holds no matter what angle's in there. I'm given cosine y. So I'm going to stick that cosine y in. So I'm going to right into here. That minus 4/5 is going to get plugged right into there, like so. And this is one of those things that seems easy when I do it, but when you see all the stuff, you're just going to put it all together and stir it up in a big pot. Don't do that. And now I do the same math that I did before with the cosine x. Same thing. I solve for sine y squared. It becomes, I subtract the 16/25 from both sides, then I get a common denominator, I combine them, I get 9 over 25. What is the sign of sine in the second quadrant?
The second quadrant is
Negative cosines. Cosines are negative, and what are the signs?
positive.
Positive. So I know which answer I'm going to choose. I'm going to choose the positive one. So when I square root both sides, I get a nice number, 3/5. But it's, I copied it again. What you're looking at is copied again. See right here? Sine y squared is 9 over 25. That's from the previous.
Okay, what about the 16 over 25?
I already done, that's already here. I'm trying to fill in this one. Okay? So this one gives me plus or minus 3/5, but it's going to be plus because sine is going to be positive. So 3/5 goes in here. Sine y is 3/5. See, all I did is copied it, and it dropped it into here. Instead of sine y, we went 3/5. That used to be sine y. Now I have the answer. Sine y is 3/5. It goes right here. You see it? Sure. Right there? Move forward. Realize I'm adding a lot of detail here. You could just go from here down to here. I want every step in the way though, because students from last semester were confused by it. So when you go back to look at this problem, I want you to be able to see what happened. So sine y is 3/5, and that gets dropped right into here. And with all that work, you think that's not going to ever be the right answer. But if you look at the little green key on the multiple choice, it turns out to be exactly the same. I multiply the numerators and I multiply the denominators. The denominators multiply up to be 20, and the numerators are 3 times square root of 5. So I get exactly what they have on the green key. Don't use decimals because they want the exact answer. Question? On the side? No, I'm going to give them to you. My hope is that when you're taking, actually you don't use this. How many of you are taking Calc 2? So you keep going. Molecular biology will take, some of you are taking Calc 2. That's where you start using this. So many students in Calc 2 say, I wish it was pre-Calc and then Calc 2, not Calc 1 in between. So I don't know if you remember any of this, but when you get to Calc 2, but this is what you need it for. And it depends again on the professor. Some professors will demand that you know this thing. Just keep quiet in class and then just come back and email me. I'm not going anywhere. And say, look, they were using some crazy formulas. And I'll say, remember in pre-calc we did this? And I can even look up, we can even go, I'll send you back to the YouTube video where we did it so you can remember it. Some professors will remind you, this is the formula I'm using, you had it in pre-calc. It just depends who you get. You can also ask me that question when the time comes to sign up for Calc 2. Which one did I get? Did I get the professor who's going to remind me or the professor who's going to say I'm stupid because I don't remember it? Tell you.
It says radical 15 on the website one. Is that a mistake on the website?
No, that is a radical 15. Oh, it didn't. I transcribed it. There's a 1 here. Should be a 1 there.
Oh, that's 15.
It's supposed to be 15. There you go. Now it's 15.